Today I'm going to show you an extremely simple method to securely store your Bitcoin using your Specter hardware wallet. And in my opinion, it's the simplest method that still maintains the right level of security. This method is also recommended by commercial hardware wallets such as the Bitcoin to their users. Later on, we'll also be able to upgrade our security even better than with other hardware wallets. We're going to do all of this now in our case, we'll do it with a smartphone using the BlueWallet app, and we'll basically manage our Bitcoin securely with it. So what do we need? We need the Specter Shield together with the Smartcard. Alternatively, you can use the Specter Shield Lite instead of the Specter Shield, but then of course you'll need a power bank with a charging cable. Then we also need a piece of paper, and you can use any piece of paper for that. I'm using here rice and waterproof TerraPhrase paper. You can get that just like the Specter hardware wallet. Also in my shop, ClavaStack.com, which you'll find linked again below. And of course, what we also need is our phone, in this case with BlueWallet, but we can just install it now. Alright, let's get started at this point. So the very first thing we do is insert the smart card into our Specter hardware wallet. And it's important that we do this while the device is turned off. And here's a little tip. If you want, you can insert this smart card once and never take it out again. That's basically the simplest way to use the Specter. And then you don't have to get confused by the additional options you get if you swap out the smart card or anything like that. You can just leave it in there, and then everything will be fine. One more little note, there's a secure chip on the smart card which in other hardware wallet is built in permanently. That means it's also no problem if we just leave the smart card permanently in our hardware wallet. So now let's turn on our hardware wallet here with the button or with the Specter Shield Lite by simply connecting the device to a power bank. And now we enter the PIN for our smart card. A quick note here. The smart card itself and the device without the smart card, they have different pins, just so you don't get confused. We'll enter it now, or if you haven't set one yet, you can set it now. I don't have anything set as a pin here, so next. Now we'll create our Bitcoin seed phrase. I've prepared a piece of paper here where we'll write it down, and it's important to note that this is extremely private. If someone were to steal it, they would also gain access to your Bitcoin. That's why I recommend that no one watches you when you store your Bitcoin seed phrase. Keep it safe with your seed phrase. It's important to remember here, the Bitcoin seed phrase is extremely private. So if someone steals it, they get access to your Bitcoin. So what does it mean that we need to store it securely later? And when we create it, we should of course make sure that no one is watching us, that we do the whole thing alone. And also make sure that no windows allow anyone to look in. And also that any cameras in the room can't watch us while we store our Bitcoin seed phrase. We don't know how large the amount will be that we want to store on it later. That's why we really want to make sure that only we have seen it. So now we click on Generate New Key. We generate our Bitcoin seed phrase and write it down now. For that, we have a pen and are now writing down our Bitcoin seed phrase. So I've now written down my seed phrase. And a small note at this point, it's important not just to write down the word itself, but also the number next to it. That number should always match the one displayed on our hardware wallet. Once we've written them down securely, we take another quick look. Did we make any mistakes while writing them down? And if everything is correct, we can click on Done here. The seed phrase we have here, we can cover it up now. Because whenever we're not using it, I recommend that you cover it so that no one else or even our phone camera that we're about to use can see the Bitcoin seed phrase. Now we're going to take it out and connect our hardware wallet to our smartphone. In my case, we're doing this with the BlueWallet app. We could go ahead and install it now. If you want, I'll put the download link for you in the video description below. And then you should have the option. I already have a few wallets on here, but that's not a problem. We can have as many wallets on it as we want. Then, if we swipe all the way to the right, it shows us Add Now. So add wallet, add now. And now we will proceed to the import wallet section. And now we can simply scan a QR code. From our wallet, if we go to Scan QR Code, here. But before we do that, let's go to Inspector. Master public key, single key. That's the standard wallet. And now we go to Scan QR Code and simply scan this QR code with BlueWallet. It shows us a watch-only wallet, which is ultimately what we have. A wallet where we can only see on the phone how much money is on it, but can't spend anything without our hardware wallet. And now we go to, okay. And what I would also recommend is that we give it a name so we can keep things clear. So now we can go to the imported watch-only wallet and tap on the 3 dots. You can now name your wallet, for example, main wallet or primary wallet. I haven't written this down on the Bitcoin seed phrase yet. Of course, you could also write this on your Bitcoin seed phrase in case you have multiple seed phrases. In my case, I just wrote seed phrase on the seed phrase. Right, now we tap on the check mark here and go back again. And now it's displayed here as main. What we're going to do now is check to make sure we've really written down our Bitcoin seed phrase securely. So to make sure we haven't made any mistakes while writing it down. Because it would be really annoying if after 3 years, when there's already a bit more money on it, we realize, oh shit, we made a mistake when we wrote down our Bitcoin seed phrase back then. That's why. We delete the seed phrase from our hardware wallet again, enter the seed phrase into the hardware wallet once more, and check again to make sure everything is as it should be. So we turn off the device. At the moment, the Bitcoin seed phrase is only stored in the memory, which means that if we turn off the device, everything is gone. Now we put our smartphone away again, so the camera can't see anything when we take out our Bitcoin seed phrase again. And now we take it out again and enter it into our Bitcoin hardware wallet once more. Press the power button, enter our PIN code again. Now we go to enter recovery phrase and enter our Bitcoin seed phrase. And the cool thing is we can do it on a smartphone-sized touch display instead of on a tiny USB stick like with other hardware wallet. So if we've entered everything correctly now, then it works. If we made a mistake somewhere, it should show a little fix at the 12th word. It will display a small fix like that. And then you should just check again, look over everything once more to see where the mistake is. If there's no fix displayed, then we entered everything correctly. And what we want to check at this point is whether the same first receiving address comes up as the one shown on our hardware wallet. And if that's the case, then we know for sure that we didn't make any typing errors. How do we do that? We go up here to the 3 dots in our app in the BlueWallet. And while we're at it, we will proceed to the hardware wallet tab, and then we can simply turn it on, which is a straightforward process. So that it's not just a watch-only wallet. But so that we can also make transactions with it later, we go to Show Addresses. And here is the first Bitcoin address that is displayed to us. And now we check whether it's the same one that's shown on our hardware wallet. To do this, we go to Wallet Default. And now we can take a look and compare. First, the last letters. And there we see it's an exact match. The same 6YY5GM, that's what it says here too. So it matches. We definitely wrote everything down correctly, and now we can explicitly save it here again. On our hardware wallet, onto our Smartcard. For that, we go to Close, Back, Settings, Smartcard Storage, Save Key to the Card. Now we're saving it onto the smart card. And here it's important that I want to do the whole thing encrypted and not accidentally. Press keep as plain text. And now it's securely encrypted on our smart card. And if someone steals this thing now, even with the smart card inside, they'll need the PIN code, otherwise they can't access our Bitcoin seed phrase. And they only have 10 attempts. And what I'm going to do now, since I haven't done it yet, is set a PIN code so that anyone who steals the device always has to enter the PIN code. I also always have to enter it myself so that I can access our or my Bitcoin seed phrase or my Bitcoin. If you've already done this, you can just skip this step now. Now, I am going to proceed back, so I will navigate back to the settings menu and then carefully select the option to change PIN code. At this point, the system prompts me saying, first, please enter your old PIN code. So let's meticulously perform that action. I haven't actually set one up yet, so I will simply click the next button. And now I'm required to input a brand new PIN code. For this particular instance, I am going to thoughtfully choose a specific PIN code. I will set it to the sequence of 7, then 15, and finally 9. And that's really quite important. I'll make sure to write it down again as well. So main, just to be absolutely sure, main with the mat card is present. And then we simply enter our password here, our PIN code. And as I said, definitely write it down somewhere so you don't have to rely solely on your memory. Yes, a password book or maybe even a password manager, whatever makes you feel secure that you'll be able to find it again when you need it. I'm going to set a new PIN now. I'll use 8709. And then I'll make it 6 digits right away so it's more secure. I'll add 47. There we finally go. After all that effort and anticipation, it's truly done. Now we've set that up and click on next. Now, of course, we have to enter it again. Once more. And now we'll test everything again to make sure we've really entered the PIN code correctly. We'll turn the device off again, turn it back on, and now you can see how we'll always be able to access our Bitcoin seed phrase in the future, simply by turning on the device and entering our PIN code. Exactly. And then we're in. Now we can go to load key from Smartcard and our Bitcoin seed phrase is saved in the device. And now we can use it to sign a transaction or display our receiving addresses in the wallet. We'll also cover up the PIN now, and what we're going to do next is receive our very first Bitcoin. And to do that, we go up here to Wallet Default, and then our very first Bitcoin address will be displayed. And now, for example, if we want to receive Bitcoin from an exchange, we can simply use this QR code. There's a QR code scanner. We just scan it and receive our Bitcoin there, for instance, if we want to withdraw them from the exchange. If we want to copy it, we can simply scan the address and then copy it over from the QR code scanner. Or we also have all the addresses stored in our BlueWallet. I'll show you again how we got there. Tap on the 3 dots, then at the bottom select Show Addresses. And then they're numbered here just like in Specter, so 0, 1, 2. And here again there's a receiving address #0. They're basically numbered exactly the same way in BlueWallet as well. And now we can just take the first one, for example. Click on it once and then click here. Then it gets copied and now we can paste it into the exchange. It's important that before we send the funds, we always verify the address again on our device, because theoretically, BlueWallet could be hacked and show us an address that actually belongs to a hacker's wallet. So always double check here on your Specter to make sure it's really the same address. As I said, here it's the same Bitcoin address that's being shown. One more small tip. If you're using the Specter Shield and the battery is running low, you can of course plug it in during the whole process, so we don't run into any issues in case something happens. That's the very bottom port. Unfortunately, the battery indicator is a bit buggy, so it doesn't always show exactly whether it's charging or not. But if you plug into the lowest port, it will charge. So I'm now going to receive some Bitcoin on my Specter. For that, we go here. I'm doing this with the Sparrow wallet, but you can do it just as well. You can do it with the exchange or wherever you have your Bitcoin that you want to send to your newly created wallet. In my case, I go to send here. Scan the address here. From my Specter, in this case. Then I will enter a clear label and the exact amount of funds that I wish to send. In this specific instance, I will be sending a total of 21,000 Satoshis, which is the designated amount. And now I click on Create Transaction. Here, if you really want to do it properly, you should verify once more at the end whether it's really the address that's displayed in your Specter, where you now want to send the Bitcoin. Finalize transaction for signing. Sign. Broadcast. Now I'm sending the transaction from my PC. And now it should show shortly that the money has arrived. So as you see, the Bitcoin have basically arrived, but they haven't been confirmed yet. So they're now basically in the waiting area of the Bitcoin blockchain and will soon be added to the Bitcoin blockchain in about 10 minutes. That's what's shown here in the BlueWallet. We can now click on the cross here and go back again. And now we just wait. And now it shows us our Bitcoin here, 0.0021 Bitcoin. And as I said, it just takes a little while for them to arrive. I'll check back in once the Bitcoin have arrived. So one more little note at this point. We don't have to wait on our phone the whole time until our transaction comes through. Sometimes it might take longer, especially if we've set the fees a bit lower. And that's why we can simply turn off the device, both our smartphone and our Specter. And now we can just store it in our drawer, of course separately from our PIN code, so that a potential attacker doesn't get both. And what's also important now, while we're waiting, is that we keep the Bitcoin seed phrase. I'll put my smartphone away again at this point, that we keep the Bitcoin seed phrase. This is also stored securely. So I would recommend that you keep it in the safest place possible. Ideally, put it in a safe. And optionally, you can put it in a security bag. Put it in there. But since I want to keep this tutorial as simple as possible, I'll skip that step in this case. So as I said, take the seed phrase now and store it in a safe. The money has now arrived and we've packed everything up, but now, maybe after 2 months, we want to make our first transaction. Or a test transaction right after we've received the money. And I'll show you how to do that now. For that, I've picked out an address again, to which we're now going to send our Bitcoin. And what we'll do is, we'll now enter this address into our BlueWallet. For that, we go to send. And now I'll scan the QR code of the Bitcoin address where I want to send the Bitcoin. Alright, I've now entered it. What I'll do next is add a note. That's just for me, so I can keep track of things. Then I'll enter an amount, how much I want to send. In my case, I want to use everything now. I can tap on total down here, or I can enter a specific amount that I want to send in Bitcoin. I can also switch to Satoshis or switch to Euros. Then I can enter the amount in Euros and it will be converted automatically. However I prefer it, and here it also shows me again what my total available balance is. Now I tap on it and can then select Use Full Balance, meaning the entire available balance. That's what I want. And then it also prominently displays the word max right here in a very large and clear font, and I will continue. And now it shows a QR code here. And I just need to scan this QR code with the Specter. For that, I turn on the Specter. Please enter the specific PIN code that I have previously set up. And what I do now is select Load Key from Smartcard. OK. And scan QR code. And now we can clearly see the transaction details here that we absolutely want to send out. The receiving address is especially important. We now compare it with the address where we actually want to send it. And I just checked it's the correct one. That's the important thing we should verify. And if everything matches, then we can click on Confirm. And now it shows us here again, right here. So here we've ultimately imported the transaction into Specter. And now we sign it with our private keys that are stored on the device. And now we transfer the signed transaction back to our smartphone so that we can send it. And for that, we go to Scan Signed Transaction and scan it once. And now we can simply click on Send Now. Or if we want, we could even send it later. But we'll send it right away now. Confirm it again with our fingerprint. And now we can click on Done. And now we see it says 0 here, the transaction has been sent. And soon it should arrive for us as well. We can see here. A transaction has arrived in the hot wallet tutorial. And that's how easy it is to make a transaction with our Specter. And then we can simply turn the device off again and put it back in our drawer. And as you can see, it's really not rocket science. With the Specter, we can manage our Bitcoin extremely simply and easily, together with our phone and the BlueWallet. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, then please. That's it for this video. If you liked it or found it helpful, feel free to give me a thumbs up. And here you'll find another video about Specter. DIY. How you can do all of this with the Sparrow wallet and a passphrase in case you ever want to upgrade your setup in the future to an even higher level of security. And down here you'll find a playlist with all the Specter videos. I've also included a link down below to my website where you'll find all the tutorials I've made for Specter neatly and clearly listed in case you have any requests.